Okay, thanks for jumping in. Let's get started. Now we're back in our code editor, and just before we get started, I'm going to do a high-level structure of the overall mockup that we did in the previous two lessons. So I'm going to introduce something to you here called a comment. Okay, so this is what you would type into HTML if you wanted to make a comment to dock your markup or leave notes for other developers or yourself in the future. And then I'm going to use some Emmet just to get this structure set up. So we have a header, we have our main section, and in that main section we have 4 sections. So it's going to multiply this by 4, and I'm just going to add a footer, and I'm going to execute that. It doesn't look like much, but it's really the bird's eye view of the overall structure of our project. We have a header, we have a main section, and then we have 4 sections within that main area, and then we have our footer. So I mean, that is actually semantic enough, but then there's more details that you're going to add within those structures to give you your page layout. So I'm going to kind of break down this header section. We have the header semantically put out inside of our page, but we can use things to help keep or devise the other elements inside of the section of our header area. What I mean by that is we know that we have a navigation, right? And then in that navigation, we have an unordered list. And within that unordered list, we have, let's say 5 or so list items, and those list items have some kind of navigation value. So we end up with something like this, but in actuality, you're going to have some divs around these contents to kind of help group the spacing of the content and help you format the layout in a certain way. As far as semantics go, this is pretty good, but inside this header, I know that I'm going to have a div here. And inside this div, I'm going to have maybe a logo or something like that. And I could put, for instance, I could have a anchor tag and it has an image inside that. And inside that, I may have a span tag. I have this kind of layout here. It has kind of no value right now until I put content within it. But just to give you an idea, that the header does have a lot more detail inside of that section. Sometimes we just don't put it in because it's a lot of information. But right now, to get the layout the way I did for that page, what I did when I'm applying my styles is that I created a div, and within inside that div, I would have an anchor tag, and then I have my image, which is like my brand or whatever I'm going to put up here. And then inside that, I have a span tag. And within that span tag, I put like something for the screen readers or something like that. So if I had a class, that said like something along the lines of like, screen readers only, then this would be invisible, but it would show up for the screen readers. And you can add a lot more detail to this stuff, and I won't get into it. We'll try to keep it to the basics, and then I'll show you the unstyled layout of the final product. But for now, just note that in the header, there are a lot more details that you can add inside of the semantic markup to give you the layout that you're looking for when you style it. And I think when we hit CSS and all those other things, it'll make a lot more sense. But just for the sake of following the actual schematic and the mock, we're going to stick to this, okay? In the main section, we have 4 sections, and each section represents the unique content we're going to place in the layout for that page. So I'm just going to add some comments here. Now with the comments completed, if we reference our comments, we could see that you can get an idea of what each section represents and what HTML elements are going to be placed in each section pertaining to our mockup or what we're trying to achieve. So we have these 4 sections here, and then we have the footer towards the bottom. Let's take a quick look at the first section. We know that the first section is going to be a banner. So we're going to have a large graphic, and then we're going to have, some copy. Our H1 will be placed in there. So in this case, I'm going to create a div tag, and within that div tag, I'm going to have an image. And then I would like to create another div tag, and this div tag is going to specify where I'm going to place like my text, my content. So I'm going to put this div tag here, a p tag for the paragraph or the content I'm going to place in there. And then I'm going to place a span tag. And then I'm going to put the H1. So I'm going to just go up a level using Emmet here. And I'm going to place the H1 here and an additional paragraph tag. So when we expand this, you might be able to see what I'm getting at here. We have that laid out after the Emmet was executed. And you can see we have a div tag. And in this div tag, it's going to basically have my image. And then within another div tag, I'm going to have some paragraph content. And in the H1, I'm going to have my message, whatever we had in the large banner. And this is really the section where I have, you know, like whoever this thing is by. So it's like some kind of call to action or something like that. Down in this one, it's representing a larger version of a blog article. So I could just put the amount of views in this case, like, you know, 203 views or something like that. Let's pop over to our browser. In the browser, it doesn't look like much, but we're getting there. We're just kind of laying out the markup for the page. So you can't really see all the things that are going to be applied to this, but you know, right over here, we have our navigation items. It runs across the page, and then we have our logo in here. I don't have a picture that I plugged in at the moment. And then down here, we have our banner, which contains some of the content, and it's styled with a large picture. And that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like the video if you found this useful. Leave your comments and thoughts below. Take care, and I will see you next time.